Good morning, everybody. Welcome to week 2 of Principles of Digital Animation. So I wanted to chat with you kind of briefly. I'm looking over here at my other screen. Um, and just sort of talk about how the first week went a little bit and what we're moving into the next week. For the most part, it looks like week 1 went really well for you all. I know that there were some technical issues with getting Maya, and I know some of you are still working those out. Sort of the general answer I would say is send them as much information as you can all at one time. So if you have a picture of your transcript, a scan of um, your acceptance letter, maybe you got a scholarship or something like that, possibly even like a receipt from paying tuition. Just compile all of that into one PDF file and send that to them. And you can use Adobe Acrobat or all sorts of other online PDF creators for that. Um, I'm looking. Um, I think everybody is seeming to get on track with this just from what I'm just from what it seems. Um, but if what you're doing right now is running on the 30-day trial, I don't want that to come back and bite you in 30 days where you're right in the middle of a project and suddenly Maya stops working and you have to worry about how to get it working again. So let's try to make sure that we can do that. If you're still having issues, contact me directly. If you've tried these things, and we'll try to see if there's some other options we can do. A couple of things I wanted to talk about. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to D2L. D2L. So I wanted to remind you all that you have these discussions due every week. It seems like the majority of you saw that, and we got a lot of discussion posts here. Um, and I'll be grading this soon. What I would say is, there's two parts of this. Remember, there is your initial discussion post, and then there is the element of you commenting on these discussion posts. Um, I want to check that one out too. Cyberpunk 2077. Um, so yeah, reply to these. Everybody should have one discussion post and 2 replies per person. And this is every week. The initial discussion post is due on Thursday at midnight or right before midnight, and the 2 replies are due Sunday of that week, right before midnight, and that way we can start the week fresh again on Monday. Um, the discussions will still be available for you to read them, but they will lock at the end of the week to where you can't make discussion comments anymore. Um, so, keep on this. This is a significant portion of your grade. The other thing I was noticing, just kind of looking through the content in week 1, which we just finished, right? There is this course quiz, right? Um, it it's due what? Oh, I've got the wrong due date on that, but that's okay. Um, that will still work. Um, I really intended this to be due last night, but but having said that, like this is fine. So September 1st, that's Tuesday at midnight, and that gives you basically. I think it will lock after that. And the thing that you need to realize is that if you haven't filled out that quiz, if you haven't taken that quiz, you can't see any more of the class content. Week 2 does not open up for you until you've taken that quiz. And there's at least 4 people, I think 5 people, who haven't taken that quiz. And the other thing is you have to score a 100 on that quiz, or you can't see week 2 either. Um, so, I double check and make sure that you have taken and passed that quiz with a 100, or otherwise you just can't proceed in the class. Like the class doesn't open up to you. The reason for that is because there are questions in that quiz that I need to make sure you are ready to move forward. Right? Otherwise, you'll just be lost in week 3. Or otherwise you may get to week 15 and be like, I didn't think that's what this class was, and then you'll be upset with the result. So you need to take that quiz, make sure that you are confirming you've read the syllabus, you've all of those things. So I know that there's at least 4 people who haven't taken it at all, and I think one person had an 80 on it. So you need to take that one again and make sure that you get a 100 on it. Okay, so let's look at if you have taken that quiz, right? It's going to open up week 2 for you. Actually, it'll open up the entire rest of the semester. You'll be able to see everything. So if we look at week 2, we're jumping into some pretty serious stuff pretty quickly. So last week we mainly focused on navigation in Maya. How do you move around? How do you select things? How do you move things, right? And if you have questions on this at any point, I have open office hours 4 times a week. Of course, you can find those times and those links if you go to Zoom and AppStream links. So here's my Zoom office hours schedule. You'll be able to see it's right there, and there's the link. You can also find the Zoom office hour link right here, quick link, or if you want the full information in case you need to call in on your phone or something. So this will just take you straight to Zoom if you're on a computer. I think it'll also do it if you're on a tablet or mobile device. So so hop in there if you have questions. I will say, like, right now it's 9 a.m. on Monday. I will be in there from 10 to 11 today. I think it's 3 to 4 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. So again on this, 3 to 4 on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, and then on Thursdays 10 to 11. And then if you happen to need some help on Friday, and I don't have office hours scheduled for that, you have my cell phone number in the syllabus. Text me or email me and say, hey, can we meet at a certain time? You don't have to make an appointment for any of these times here. You just hop in, right? Just jump into Zoom, and I can help you through any of the problems you're having. If some of these times don't work, just contact me and we can set up another time. So if hopefully all of this is working for you. You've got Maya working, you've navigated around in it, you've put your bridge together, and that means this week we're going to start actually making some new content, right? Last week you put together your pieces that you already had to make the bridge. Well, this week we're going to start making some little custom, like, toy cars, and let's see, what do we do here? So we do some basic car modeling, right? And we talk about how modeling works with polygons, vertices, and edges, faces. And then we also talk a little bit about materials, how to add some materials to things, so you get different colors, get different reflectivities, things like that. We go into rigging. Rigging is sort of the setup process for animation. So this is where you would make sure that the wheels go with the car, right, when you move the car. We talk about how to save a file, how to save this out. And then we jump into some animation. We actually start making some stuff move. Okay, so we animate our cars driving around, and then finally we make a video of that. Right now, Play Blast is like a very poorly rendered video. Right, it's not the best lighting, it's not the best quality, but it allows you to create a video of your animation as it looks in Maya, so you can see it, so you can test it out. Right. And so, Play Blast is basically like animation preview, is what we would consider it. Maya just calls it a Play Blast. So there's a lot to get through this week. So I would encourage you to get started as soon as possible. This is just a lot of video content. I would imagine probably a little over an hour of content this week to watch through. And then on top of that, we also have a couple of extra things in here. Play Blast settings, and this will allow you to make a video file that is actually manageable. Pay close attention to this, because if you do this incorrectly, you're going to end up with a file that's like 5 gigabytes, and then it's going to be hard to move that file around or submit that file for assignments and stuff. We also talk about snipping tool and the grab tool to help you out with the issue you're going to have for your discussion post this week. You're going to share, sort of your progress, and that may be a play blast that you're sharing, or it may be an image of your model. And instead of having to worry about rendering right now, we can just take a screenshot of our screen to see what the model is looking like. Now, under our assessments for this week, we have a couple of different things. As always, we have our discussion post. And in this one, we're going to be either sharing a YouTube link of your play blast. So you would upload that to YouTube and share a link to everyone. You can also embed videos, so that means people don't have to click on it. They can just watch it in your post. Or you can show an image of your current progress if you haven't gotten to the animations stage by Thursday. Recognize again, the initial discussion posts due Thursday. The comments are due by Sunday. Right, and both of those are 11:59 p.m. So, Project 1 bridge assignment. This is not due this week. This is us announcing the project. So let's look through this really quick. So, last week we put some stuff together for the bridge, and I wanted to make sure you knew what you were working toward for week 2, so I gave you a little write-up of it. But that was really the first stage in what we're going to call Project 1 bridge, right? And the whole purpose of this, like the reason I like to start this with a why, is so you know that I'm not just making busy work for you, right? We're trying to work toward a certain outcome. So the purpose of this project is to allow you to explore the basic elements of the animation pipeline so that you can learn the fundamentals and start to get an idea of what parts of the process you enjoy the most. So what we're going to do. So we've already created 3 vehicles as part of our work, as part of our lecture this week. And so we are going to continue to make more things, and we'll work together this week and next week to sort of make the entire thing. So using the 3 animated vehicles and the bridge from the first 2 exercises of the first 2 weeks, create a full scene, add lights, materials, textures, animated cameras, and additional models and animated elements to make a complete animated shot. So here's some of the things you should consider doing. Adding an environment, including a sky and surrounding terrain. Add additional vehicles or animated objects. So if you wanted to have a lot of people have like a UFO comes in and picks up one of the cars. Adjust materials to make the scene feel more realistic. Light the scene in a way that creates a mood. Are you going for a happy Sunday drive, or are you going for a moody nighttime, creepy feel, right? Add camera motion or cuts. Make sure your bridge is going to and from somewhere. What is it crossing? Like, it always breaks the illusion if you look at that and you're like, why is there even a bridge floating in the middle of the ocean? And it's not bridging across 2 land masses, right? And then eliminate any telltale signs that this is not a fully 3D world that the viewer is watching, right? Keep in mind that what we're doing as animators is we're creating an illusion for the audience, right? These cars don't really exist, right? But they can fall into this story and watch it and enjoy it, right? There's all sorts of things that can break that illusion, right? If the entire scene is just floating in space and there's like you can't see the world continuing off into the distance, there's lots of things that really make this less engaging, right? So finally, make your scene your own, right? This is completely like you're not following a tutorial here. There's lots of elements where I am walking you through parts of this, but I want you to feel free to go wild with this. Like, make this something that is representative of you. You should not be copying the video lessons exactly. Like, you can, you don't have to make, 2 cars and a truck. You may decide you want to make a rig, or maybe even a motorcycle. Like, people have made all sorts of different things, a garbage truck, whatever. If you want a completely different bridge, that's fine. Create it. If you want to do different car models, like, do it. The finished piece should be a fully rendered 10 to 12 second animation at a resolution of at least 1920 by 1080. Now we'll talk about rendering next week, so don't worry about that too much. But this is an example of what the final animation, this is an example of what one might look like. Right? So I'll watch that again. Okay, so the big question, how is it graded? Right? So I use a rubric, and I will actually open this up next so we can see what the rubric looks like. But full credit for this, like a perfect grade for this would be 25 points, right? So you have 5 different criterias, and for each of those criteria, you can have 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 points. So we'll look at that here in just a second, but 5 times 5 equals 25, right? So 25 is a perfect score on this. The final rendered MP4 or MOV will be due Sunday of week 3. Keep in mind this is week 2 right now, right? So of week 3 by 11:59 p.m. I wanted to point out that I'll deduct points if you're from your final grade if the file size is larger than 50 megabytes. That should be very easy to do, though. I walk you through that in week 3 as well. So this is just because if you don't follow those steps, you'll end up with a file that is enormous and it takes up extra hard drive space. It's slow to pull down. It's slow to watch, and so it just kind of holds up the whole process. So, so let's go back really quick just to the assessments page, right? And you'll notice on the assessments page, all the way at the bottom down here, we have this rubric for POA Bridge 1. And this is maybe a little easier way of seeing this. You can even pop this out and make it bigger. I can hold Control and zoom in a little bit here. So this is how the project will be graded. Right? It'll be on these 5 criteria. So you're modeling, so you're going to create these cars, you're going to create this bridge, you're going to create some environment, all of that stuff. And you can have a grade of anywhere from incomplete or did not attempt. Maybe you didn't make any models, right? Which would be hard to animate something if it didn't exist. But or you just barely put any effort in it at all, right? All the way up to excellent, exceptional work, exceeds expectations of the project, right? Now I need to point out that this 5 isn't the minimum, right? This is not that, you did the bare minimum of the project requirements and that means you deserve a 5. Right? 5 is reserved for an exceptional work, right? That means you put a lot of work, you put a lot of time, you put a lot of effort into it. That's how you earn a 5, right? Lighting and rendering is the second criteria. So we will talk about those next week, but there are 2 different ways you can render your project, and one of them gets you a really nice render without a lot of effort, but it takes a lot of time, and it takes kind of a faster computer. The other one will the other render method will render faster, but it takes a little bit more time and effort in order to get a pretty image out of it, right? So the render time is faster, but the construction time is longer. I show you both methods, and you are open to use either method. Recognize that when I'm saying lighting and rendering, I'm not grading the software. I'm grading your eye for what looks good for lighting and rendering, right? You are making the effort to make the lighting feel nice, right? To feel realistic. One of the ways to do this is, or maybe not realistic, but to feel appealing. And one of the ways of doing this is looking at actual images with good lighting. Rigging is sort of the technical side of this. How did you get everything sort of set up and prepped for animation successfully? The animation step, how things move, and so I'm grading, is this moving believably? Am I believing the physics of the world? Am I believing the timing, right? And then finally there's this last little category called overall presentation, which is basically how did it all come together, right? You can do all of these other steps excellently, right? And then if you edit it and make it tiny to where nobody can see it, maybe you use the wrong codec and it plays with a bunch of artifacts in it and stuff like that. All of that could affect your overall presentation. Or it could just be that all of these are not quite that good, and so it ends up compounding into this overall presentation not looking as good either. This is sort of the like, you know, how is the entire project presenting by itself? So each of these 5 points each with a total of 25. That's a little confusing to some people who are used to the 100-point grade scale. Recognize that if you just multiply your grade by 4, you are able to get a grade you're more used to, right? So let's say you ended up with a 20. Well, if you multiply that by 4, that's 80, right? So a 20 on this scale is an 80 on the 100% scale. So, so hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. I know this video is a little longer than usual, but I'll try to keep them a little more brief in the future. Let me know if you have any questions, and I will talk to you all soon. Thanks. Bye.